everyone, and welcome to the 83rd episode of Don't Forget the Popcorn. Normally on this channel, I typically only review movies, but I have reviewed some TV shows in the past. Today, I wanted to talk about a Netflix series that kind of intrigued me. I've been hearing about this show, and I logged on to Netflix, and it was all over the app. Number one show and all that, so I watched the trailer. I must say, I haven't watched a Netflix original in a while, but this one I wanted to see. Well, out of nowhere, I got super sick. So I was confined to the house, so I decided to binge this show. And I gotta say, it's one of the more interesting shows regarding this subject matter. The idea of a stalker has been used over and over in countless situations and variations. Sometimes it works, a lot of times it doesn't. Baby Reindeer has something going for it most of these shows and movies don't. The lead actor, Richard Gadd, wrote this, and apparently it's based on his real life experiences. How much of it is true, that remains to be known, but there's an authenticity to this story that makes me feel like it's at least 70% based on true events. There's an honesty here that's quite appealing, admirable, and quite shocking. The writer-actor is laying some of the darkest depths of his life out for our entertainment, and I must pay him his respects for putting this story out there and making himself so vulnerable. Now, this is a Scottish show, but it does take place in London. Now, this review isn't going to necessarily spoil specific scenes or details in the show, but I'm going to be covering some of the major themes in this show because there are quite a bit of them, some tough ones. So although I may not spoil this outright, I will be pointing in some of the directions the show is going to go. Now, I knew of not a soul involved making this show. The star and writer, Richard Gadd, Donnie in the show, I have never heard of this guy in my life. He doesn't really have any credits to his name. Martha, who plays the stalker in the show, played by Jessica Gunning, I had never heard of her either. And Terry, Donnie's girlfriend, played by Nava Mao. All three of these actors blew me away. I had to take a second to shine some light on these unknown actors because they were all incredible, especially Jessica Gunning, who plays Martha. She was sensational. So the show is broken down into 7 episodes that are about roughly 30 minutes, except episode 4, which is around 45. So it's a quick watch. The premise is simple. An aspiring comedian ends up meeting a middle-aged, overweight woman at a pub he works at, and she begins to stalk him. Now, I only bring up this woman's age and weight because it does tie into the story. I'm not shaming anyone at all. Now, this could easily be chalked up to gimmicky, eye-catching move to draw people in, but this story isn't about the stalker. It's about how a stalker can shape a person's perception on everything around them. It's about the mental gymnastics one's mind can go through when a stalker enters your life. The feeling of fear and flattery, disgust and desire. It shows us how a relationship with a stalker can change you the longer it goes on, for the positive and the negative. The things we see Donnie, our lead, go through is a little wild. But let me tell you, this man isn't just an innocent victim, and the show does not shy away from showing us that. There are so many themes we have to tackle. Obsession, sexuality, self-doubt, insecurities, coping with age, SA, addiction, personality disorder. I mean, it's loaded. But the underlying theme of it all is being true to oneself. Donnie, our lead, is the most insecure guy you'll ever meet. He's a struggling comedian who lives with his ex-girlfriend's mom and works at a pub that he used to perform at. Since I'm not going to break this down episode by episode, let's talk about Donnie for a bit. The show takes place in 2015 to 2017, so I'm guessing that puts Donnie in his mid to late 20s. Donnie has had a very bad career as a comedian, and I mean, the dude just can't seem to catch a break. Every relationship he seems to get into goes wrong, and he really can't seem to get a grip on himself, let alone understand anyone around him. For example, in the show, he's dating Terry, a trans woman who he lied to completely on everything about himself, even his name. Now, he did it for his own selfish reasons. Donnie is very confused about his sexuality, and this is a recurring theme of the show. He met Terry on a trans dating app, and honestly, she's great for him. But Donnie is so wrapped up in himself, he can't even see the way he treats her is making her so insecure, especially about her identification. We learn later why his ex Keely can't stand him because, yet again, he has blinders up to anyone but himself, and he constantly is ruining good opportunity after good opportunity. And with those self destructive tendencies, it leaves Donnie open to all the things he endures over the 2 years dealing with Martha. The idea of a stalker is almost taboo. But let's be honest, anyone who has a stalker feels flattered because someone essentially is obsessed with them. It's an all time ego boost, and you can try and deny it all you want, but at some point in the stalking, it probably was cute and innocent and made you feel good. I've never had a true stalker. Of course, some girlfriends in my youth that got a little out of hand at times, but not a full blown stalker where I was scared for my life or anything. So I can't say what it feels like, but most of these things start innocent. So I imagine in the beginning, it would be cute, sort of playful, mindless flirting. Until one comment or question makes one feel uncomfortable. Until one day you see the person show up somewhere they shouldn't have known you'd be. Until they contact your family. At what point does this go from being friendly to stalking? There are levels to stalking. There's someone who watches your every move on social media, or someone who is outside your window watching what you do in your room at night. Doesn't matter what level, it's all uncomfortable. And in this day and age, technology has made it very easy for someone to stalk. I mean, you can find almost anything about somebody if you know their real name or somebody who knows them. But the bigger and better question of this all is why? What drives someone to the point where they feel they need to enter every avenue of one's life? Now, I'm not a doctor of any kind, so I will not be discussing diagnosis of mental conditions, but obviously the two do go hand in hand, which brings up more questions, but we ain't going into that in review because I'm not that smart. When Martha, our stalker, a middle aged, heavyset woman, enters the pub he works at and they meet for the first time, it isn't a one sided thing. There is intrigue on both sides. Martha is silly, full of banter and life, and honestly, in a weird way, a beacon of hope. The web of fabricated lies she built around herself creates this perfect little lady who seems harmless and innocent. You wouldn't expect this kind of behavior from a woman like her. She is the type of person we typically trust as a regular member of society. But as we learn more about her, her background, and the person she truly is deep down, it paints a picture for us that isn't one we want to hang on our wall. It's frustrating and sad all at once. Because on one hand, Martha, being a Gen Xer, the ideas and values of the youth at the time don't really align with who she is, which can explain a little why she may feel she needs to go to certain measures to obtain love and status, if you can call it that. And I don't want to say too much about spoiling the show, but Martha's got her own web of lies that are just all over the place. Martha's lonely, and it can be for a number of reasons that aren't explained in the show or due to some of the things that are explained. But we know one thing: she doesn't want to be alone, especially as you age. When the show starts, we learn Martha's birthday is coming up soon, and she is in her mid 40s. Now, they did a good job of aging the actress because I believe she's 35. Her age comes up a few times in the show, and not in a positive way. Her fertility is in question. Her ability to keep up over the years. It's actually quite disturbing in its honesty of the subject in regards to relationships, but they are legitimate questions. And that's the heart of this show: being able to be yourself, especially within a relationship. Donnie and Martha are far more alike than different. They are both extremely insecure, have no idea how to go about relationships, and are two of the most awkward people I've ever seen. Of course, there are a million reasons they couldn't work out as a couple, but in a weird world, I could see them working. I mean, there was quite a gap in age, probably close to 20 years if we're using the timeline in the show based on what we know about the real life Donnie. She really isn't his type at all. His type is all over the place, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And on top of that, he is sort of seeing someone when he meets Martha. Now, Donnie admits a lot of things from Martha as their friendship gets closer, like his relationship with Terry, his phone number. They only communicate through email. Now, the email is the only way she can get a hold of him until she requests him on Facebook, well into the stalking. But Donnie accepted her request, even though he knew he shouldn't. This is where Donnie lays it on the line. And we can see this before he even reveals it to us in the show. He loves the attention Martha gives him, thus pushing him deeper into the hole that he cannot get out of. Now, before I go any deeper into this review, we have to talk about Terry. Terry was my favorite character. Flawed like all the others, but I understand and feel her the most. Terry's a trans woman and an immigrant. Now, I don't remember where she's from, but keep that in mind because it is important. I must say, I had no idea Terry was trans when I first saw her. The actress was incredible and played up this vulnerability and lack of confidence that you can tell comes from a real place. Although she looks great, you can see that she's still very uncomfortable and not sure of herself in many ways, which that we'll just never understand. Donnie met Terry on a trans dating site, in which he used a fake name and occupation. Why? I'll tell you. Now I'm going to talk about something in the show that is jumping big time into spoiler territory. So if you don't want a large aspect spoiled, look at the screen and I'll have up where you should fast forward to. So I'll give you a second to do that. Check the screen out. All right, I gave you your shot. Now remember, Donnie is an aspiring comedian. He's not very funny, at least in my opinion. But Donnie ends up telling us a very detailed and graphic story of how he met a man in the industry and befriends Donnie. Let's just say, Hollywood isn't the only system that has its issues. It's just the entertainment business. This man Donnie meets takes a liking to him and offers him a job writing for him. Over time, these two get close, and this man starts to feed Donnie drugs. I'm talking hard stuff, crack, meth, heroin, crazy stuff, outside of the occasional joint or some shrooms. One night, Donnie gets a little too high and passes out, and this man assaults Donnie. And you know what I mean by assault. Donnie wakes up and doesn't know what to do with himself. He starts sleeping with any man, woman, whoever, just to try and make sense of the feelings he was having. He starts watching gay porn and doesn't want to sleep with his current girlfriend at that time. This instance changed him, and Donnie now believes he is bisexual, and he is very confused. So in my own opinion, Donnie was looking for the best of both worlds between men and women by going out with a trans woman, but was too embarrassed to put himself out there fully, so he lied about his identity. This is where the train falls off the tracks on the show. Donnie's two worlds collide. He wants to break things off with Terry, even though he really likes her, because Martha's stalking is getting to a dangerous level. But Terry isn't down with that because she doesn't want to have to hide herself from the world any longer after she's felt like she's been doing that her whole life. So Donnie's lies, mixed with the curiosity growing from his girlfriend and stalker, are making for some very fun drama. Things come to a major head when Martha and Terry meet, and Martha says some not so nice things to Terry. Like, you look like a man and go back to your country. Yikes. Even after Terry was nothing but polite and honest with this woman. She assaults her as well. And this is the first taste we get of how deep Martha's obsession and her background come into play here. It's not cute anymore. And now it's a real problem. This further sends Terry into her own spiral as she is already insecure with Donnie and his lies. The thing with this show is it's really a character study and from three different angles: Donnie, Terry, and Martha. You love and hate each of them throughout the show, just like real people. There's many layers to go through the show and many ways to feel about it. And I think the best thing to do is watch it and form your own opinions. What I appreciate the most is the pure honesty in its storytelling. I mean, this dude didn't hold back at all. He didn't make himself look like a hero or a good guy, but just a guy, a regular guy who's made mistakes, yearned for something big, something maybe he felt like he didn't deserve. Haven't we all felt victim to that? There's a level of maturity and experience it takes to write something to this effect. He wrote all the characters with such care and detail, and the direction is A1 from Veronica Tolfiska and Josephine Bornbusch. Let this show take you on the journey and let the layers unfold in front of you to show human nature and the human condition in all of its forms. The show doesn't tell you how to feel at any moment. I was taken on an unexpected journey with this miniseries, and this is how to make a miniseries work. It's not too long, just long enough to flesh everything out. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and we get the whole story. I honestly couldn't be more satisfied with what I got here. I'm going to highly recommend taking the info I've given you and applying it to all parts of the show that I didn't cover, like the stuff with his parents, especially his dad. Now, anyone who's watched this show fully, you already know I left a whole lot of information on the table because if I got into everything, this thing would end up being as long as the series did because this show breaks down them layers. But I just wanted to give my opinion on it and let you guys know I definitely think you should check it out if you haven't seen it. So overall, I am going to give Baby Reindeer as a whole a 9.4 out of 10. Guys, thank you so much for watching my Baby Reindeer review. Let me know if there's a film or topic you'd like me to review. I got a podcast with my buddy, The Cutting Room Floor. I'll link that below for more movie content. Follow me on Letterboxd, Ralph Vader. I'll link that below as well. Always having fun over there. Make sure you like and subscribe. It's free. Helps your boy out. I will be back next week. And don't forget the popcorn.